What's going on, gentlemen? Inglewood here from Killing Esports, doing another StarCraft 2 game for you guys. We're on Condemned Ridge today. We got a TvT between the Red Terran spawning in the northeast position, Ulubai, squaring off against the Blue Terran in the northwest position, tbear. This is another replay pulled out of the ether. I do know that they're Silver League, which doesn't usually mean great games. However, the description of the game made it sound like it was back and forth and pretty exciting, so we'll see what happens. These guys doing funky Kirby ASCII art so far while they do the boring 5 minutes of SCV production before anything exciting starts to happen. Both hitting 10 supply, both going to drop down supply depots now. Looks like Ulubai is going to wall off his ramp, as is tbear. I assume they both know that they're Terrans. You usually don't wall off against a Terran when you're a Terran, but that's okay. It's good to learn one build order and get really good at it, especially when you're in lower leagues like this. So it's safe to wall off against Zerg, and so it makes sense that they would just wall off against everybody. We'll see barracks come down for Ulubai, and just a second delayed, tbear drops his down as well. Big 4-player map here. I believe all spawn locations are possible, so we'll have to see where these guys decide to scout. Looks like Ulubai is going to head down here to the southeast corner to begin with. He's going to find absolutely nothing there, and that's a bit unfortunate since he's obviously going clockwise. He will scout his opponent last, and by the time he does that, the wall will be completed and he's going to see nothing. And he might even take a few shots from the Marines there that pop out. tbear still not scouting yet. Looks to be pretty well focused on gathering minerals, and he doesn't care what's coming out of him. Out of his opponent, that is. Both players making a second barracks, although Ulubai's is already well underway. Still scouting around. Gonna see a whole lot of nothing at the southwest position. Orbital commands being made. Another supply depot coming down for Ulubai. So really, these guys are just mirroring each other. It's a mirror match and it's a mirror build. Not much to talk about at this point. If you guys haven't seen a lot of my other videos, it's because I only made the good ones public on my YouTube channel, the one that you're watching right now. But I went back and I made them all public, so you can watch the first week and a half of me practicing casting, and you can laugh at how terrible it is. And a lot of the times I'm saying some pretty inappropriate things because they weren't intended to be viewed. So if you like inappropriate things, that might be worth checking out. Ulubai finally making his way to the northwest position here. tbear is definitely walled off. It looks like he's actually pushing out with a couple Marines, and they just missed each other by a little bit. And is Ulubai going to find the wall down? No, he can't get in, so he's just going to drill a little bit and then probably get shot by these Marines coming out here. They've got to notice that there's an SCV out there knocking on the front door. But he is going to get away with his life, I guess. The Marines crossing the map for tbear. One's going to hold up here at the Xel'Naga tower just to keep that big range of vision here so he can see what's coming and going. And he's going to scout the wrong direction. It looks like he's going to skip the close position and not even bother scouting it. No, he's taking the second Xel'Naga tower. Okay, so that's pretty well normal. Having that top Xel'Naga tower gave enough vision to tbear that he's going to see the SCV of his opponent going by, and he's going to get a couple free shots on it, but he is going to make it out there with his life, thanks to the reinforcement Marines of Ulubai's barracks production. Now it's going to be 2-on-1, and we'll see if tbear is able to get away. Looks like Ulubai is not going to pursue. tbear's got some reinforcements coming up behind him. That's a good amount. 9 Marines now. That's like some early pressure coming out of him. With some good micro, he'll be able to pick off both of these Marines, but no, he just kind of A-moves into them, and they're going to be able to get away with their lives intact. Back at home, bunker coming down at the natural expansion, but it's not quite done yet. 8 Marines wait for these 9 Marines pushing up the ramp, so I think Ulubai is actually going to have the advantage here since he had the vision from the top of the ramp, but it looks... Oh no, he does actually get into that bunker last minute. He was going to lose that, being at low health, but the bunker finishes up just in time, and that gives him an advantage. Pushes tbear back, and he's going to have to come up with something else. So pretty good consistent production coming out of both of these players. Expansion comes down for Ulubai, morphing that into a command center already. tbear expanding as well, but he's a little bit delayed, although he is building right on the expansion, so he won't have to lift it off and fly it. He'll be able to start mining immediately as soon as this finishes, whereas Ulubai will have to lift and float. And all this wasted time that could have been spent mining off of his new base, although he still is going to be ready quite a bit earlier than tbear is. Stim comes up for Ulubai. Scan comes down from tbear, seeing what Ulubai is doing. Sees that he's researching this stim here. Sees a couple of barracks. If he clicked on this, he'll see, yeah, it's 3 barracks, so he's going to know to expect some bio-heavy play. tbear doing upgrades of his own, but he's getting combat shields and upgrade level 1, weapon upgrade level 1. They're both going to scan each other, I guess. So really the only difference here so far is that Ulubai is going to get stim first, whereas tbear is going to get combat shields first. So that'll be extra 10 hit points for his units, for his marines. Factory down for both players. Armory coming down for Ulubai. And now they're both getting combat shields. Marine Marauder production coming out of Ulubai. We'll have to see what they're going to be doing with these factories. Ulubai going to go with tanks, it looks like. He's not producing his first tank yet, but he is researching siege tech. So he'll be able to blast that ass. Supply count just about even, 46 to 49, real similar. Both spending their money pretty reasonably well. Let's look at the workers, 29 to 27. So everything looking pretty comparable right now. Both on their expansions. Stim comes down for tbear now. That's going to be a while before that finishes, but it looks like these guys are playing a pretty relaxed pace, so I don't suspect that we'll see any big battles anytime soon. So they'll both have time to kind of get their armies in the composition that they want them to be in. Eventually, I'd see some medevacs come out for both these guys, I would expect. tbear working on his starport right now. Siege Tech finishes up back at home for Ulubai. First tank's going to come out now. Decent little wall off here with a couple of supply depots. He'll be able to raise and lower those just to create some choke points if fighting does occur here. But, of course, he is at risk of losing 20 supply when these get shot down. tbear still in control of both the Zelnaga towers. Nobody trying to take a sneaky third. Looks like Ulubai is going to push out with a reasonable-sized Marine Marauder force here. He's going to recapture this tower. Of course, tbear is going to see this coming from a mile away. So we'll have to see what he does to prepare for this. Concussive shells, vehicle damage level 1 being upgraded for Ulubai. So he's kind of doing all the upgrades. He's going to get that Marauder slow down and start buffing his tank damage. So he'll be formidable if tbear doesn't keep up with him on the upgrades. tbear now taking +1 armor, as is Ulubai. Jesus, it's like someone do something special here. So far, not the funnest game ever played. Whoa, way oversaturated here at tbear's main. He needs to take off a bunch of those SCV and send them down here to the empty mineral patches of his natural expansion. Big supply gap all of a sudden. Ulubai spent a bunch of money and started making supply, I guess. We see tbear's got a good amount of money in the bank, and he's kind of getting close to supply capped. Ulubai is definitely supply capped, but here we go. Finally an engagement here in the middle of the map. Both armies, tbear stims in, but he was just on move command, and he took a lot of free shots there. Ulubai stims and just mows this down. He definitely had the army advantage to begin with, but just a miss micro there from tbear costs him potentially that whole engagement. So huge damage done. 57 supply for tbear to 85 of Ulubai now. Tanks coming out for both players, finishing up their 1-1 upgrades. Slow and steady, I guess. Ulubai could definitely press his advantage right now, but he doesn't appear to be wanting to do that. He actually went home and abandoned that tower completely. We see some tanks on the high ground here, but they're not sieged up. I hear a scan. What's being scanned? Okay, so tbear scans the main of Ulubai. He's going to see the armory down. He's going to see medevac popping out. And just continuing with this marine production. Got reactor starport for tbear, and he's just going to completely dry out this base with his SCVs. Meanwhile, no third coming down or anything like that, but we do have a fusion core. Ulubai going fusion core. That's battle cruisers. I don't know why he's going battle cruisers. I guess he's just decided that his enemy's bad, so he might as well have fun. Interesting choice, though. We see that he's he's able to make 5 Marines at a time with his Rax production here, but he's just going to make the jump straight to air. He's going to go Sky Terran after being on. He's almost going to get on two weapon damage here, so he's going to be 2-1. He may move this army out and poke into his opponent's base just to try and buy some time or just to keep him distracted. We see, what is this? That's vehicle weapons too, so he's not done with tanks by any means since he's still upgrading their damage. I would expect to see some ship damage, maybe? Some ship armor coming out if he's going to do the battlecruiser transition. Well, be interesting to see what he does. He's obviously going to have to throw down a bunch more starports because battlecruisers take a day and a half to produce, and he's not going to be liking that off one starport. No upgrades coming out yet. No Yamato cannon. No energy buff. 11 Marines at a time coming out for tbear, so he's obviously planning on sticking heavily into bio units. God, having one of those days where I don't talk again. Third base now down for tbear. Third base now down for Ulubai. They're just kind of doing scanning wars. They're not even positioning to siege each other up in the middle of the map. They're just going to like sit back and produce whatever they're going to produce. Ulubai definitely spending his money though. We see Thors and battle cruisers coming out side by side from him. If he wasn't supply blocked, he'd probably be adding on even more things. Both players actually supply cap pretty bad now, but 97 supply for the blue Terran and 132 for the red. So there's a pretty big supply gap despite them being on similar ground here. Scan comes down from tbear, so he knows his opponent's on that third. Did he move some SCVs off of his main? Yeah, it looks like he has been shuffling SCVs around for a little bit, so that's good. That's what he needed to be doing. He's taken his gas at his third, so that's going to give him a little bit of a gas advantage over his opponent at least to try and crawl back into this game. We see the supply count is kind of closing, but not in any great hurry. These guys are just going to make maxed out armies and then push them into each other, and whoever wins is going to walk away from the fight, I think. 18 minutes into the game now, not much more than a little bio-excursion in the middle. We see double orbital command here at the natural for Ulubai. I'm not sure if he's using that just for SCV production. I mean, he's not making anything out of it right now, but I'm not sure if he intended to use that for SCV production or if he just wanted the extra minerals from additional mules being called down, or maybe he'll lift that off and fly it to a 4th base when he's ready. But for now, it was a way for him to spend 400 minerals that he had sitting around, so that's good. I like to see players spending their money. More battle cruisers, more Thors. Terran Vehicle Weapon 3 coming out, so that's going to be a benefit for the Thors in a big way. And he's actually still going for bio upgrades as well. So we see that the Marines keep popping out fairly regularly, so he's going to have a really nice mixture of units here. Looks like he's selected the whole army. He may be looking to move out. tbear back at home is pretty well fortified with a few tanks on the low ground sieged up and a good amount of Marines guarding them. We'll have to see if Ulubai intends to go for the 3rd base of his opponent or if he's going to just march right up the gate to his main. Well, that remains to be seen. 4th base going to lift off and fly out now. Where's he going with that? Okay, so he's going to take his 4th way down here. It's a reasonable spot. Supplies kind of getting away from tbear once more. Just doesn't have the production or the economy that his opponent does. We see he's only now starting level 2 armor upgrades for his units, so it'll be a while before he's on 2-2. By the time he does that, his opponent will probably be on 3-3, plus all the upgrades on his mech units as well, because tbear's mech is still totally unupgraded. He's adding on a 4th base at the moment. He's going to unsiege everything and move out right now. Both armies kind of poking out in different directions across the map. It'll be interesting to see if they totally miss each other in the middle and go hit the opponent's base without having anything at home to defend, or if they're going to clash on the Zelnaga Tower. I'm not sure where they're going to be going with this. Just constant production, though. I mean, they've got good macro, I guess, for silver players. I mean, it is 21 minutes into the game. They probably could have been at this point 10 minutes ago if they were high-level players, but that's still not bad. We've cast so many horrible games here on Killing Esports that it's kind of a pleasure to see some guys who actually have a clue what they're doing. Here we go. Couple of colorful blobs on the mini-map coming together. Sieged up on the high ground. tbear gets a free shot. He sees this coming in from a mile away, though. And that's no good. Look at all these Marines taking free damage here. Ulubai going to scout with a medevac just to get an eye on what's going on here. Because if we take a look, his vision... Oh, what have I just done? There we go. His vision does not see what's up here until he gets up the ramp to get that high ground vision. So he probably thought there was nothing there, and in fact he walked right into siege tank fire. Maxed out army now for Ulubai. He's sitting with 2,300 minerals in the bank and almost 1,000 gas. So he'll be able to replenish any units that he loses quite quickly. Ulubai, tbear, just about maxed out now. He's just adding on his own fusion core. I don't know, did he scout that there were battle cruisers perhaps? Or did he just decide to go battle cruisers himself? In fact, where are these battle cruisers going? Oh, they're all right here. So I'm not sure. Well, for whatever reason, they're both going to go battle cruisers. Maybe that's just what you do when you're a Silver League Terran and you're stuck in a standoff at 25 minutes. But really, without them pressuring their opponents, everyone's just making a ton of money. Because they don't have to play defense. They're not having to replenish any lost units. They're just free to make whatever they want and upgrade however much they want, and it's going to be whoever macros the best is going to take this, I guess. Unless one player gets a really bad engagement to some siege tanks on high ground, just like we saw before. Did these guys get any kills? No. Okay, so nothing actually died from these tanks, but they did do a bunch of damage to a good group of Marines, so if nothing else, that still cost medevac's energy having to heal up the troops, so damage done is always good. Thor upgrade coming out for Ulubai, the 250mm strike cannons that we don't see very frequently. Vehicle plating level 1, so he's getting Thor armor upgrades now. The Caduceus reactor. Okay, scan comes down from tbears, and he's going to stim in and try and take out this 4th base, and all these mules just came down. That's going to be so much money lost, but Ulubai actually comes back and manages to pull him off his workers. What a great save. tbear knew he wasn't going to survive that. He should have just committed and tried to kill all these mules because they're worth about 300 minerals each. Big fight in the middle here. Siege tanks sieging up and blasting each other. We see battle cruisers facing off against Marines. Ulubai's Marines are at 3-3. tbear's Marines are just dead already, so he's got nothing but 3 tanks left, and he's going to be totally mopped up here. Ulubai pulls out in a great victory there. He's got a 40 supply lead, and if he's smart, he's just going to go ahead and push his advantage right now while the going's good before tbear has a chance to regenerate all these units. Pausing for a moment to let some healing get done. Meanwhile, tbear, 5 battle cruisers coming out for him, replacing that lost army of Marines with BCs, but unfortunately they're unupgraded BCs. Oh, actually, so are Ulubai, so he hasn't done any ship weapons still. What a silly shit. Alright, well, so we got 3-3 Marines squaring off against 2-2 SCVs down here. There's no army here to save this 4th base for tbear. He's going to lift off and try and get away, but he's not going to get anywhere. That's going to catch on fire, and it's going to be done. These SCVs can't even get away. One gets out relatively unscathed, but otherwise that base is completely cleared up. We see this building is on fire, and unless he can get a repair on that in the coming moments, that's going to burn down and be done with. Kind of a ninja 5th base being taken down here for tbear, which I like to see. He knows he's behind after losing his big army, so he's going to try and get back into the game economically. throwing down a command center. He's got a few workers down here already. He's going to have his refineries up and ready to go as well. So how many bases are we on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 base for Ulubai. 1, 2, 3, 4 base for tbear. So he's still behind. That command center that was on fire just burned down, so that's gone. 167 to 170 supply. Now that's very interesting. The supplies are even up again. Let's take a look at army. No, that's workers. What the hell is army supply? There we go. So 118 to 108. 64 workers to 59. So both of them looking really similar here. I don't know how tbear managed to pull himself back into this game, but I guess it's because he's so far behind economically. Just look at how much money Ulubai is sitting on right now. 11,500 minerals and 2,500 gas. I'm not sure I've even seen a game where the mineral count gets that high, so Ulubai could throw this army away 2 or 3 times and still afford to rebuild it. tbear coming out with just a massive battle cruisers. 8 battle cruisers and 2 pages of marines here that are still on... Okay, they're on 3-2 now. And I think this is going to be the deciding battle. Neither player really has the production facilities to remake their armies as fast as they would need to, but here he goes. tbear crushing up against the cliff wall of his opponent, but he gets just sandwiched here between Ulubai's main army. Tanks siege up on both sides. This is like battle cruiser on battle cruiser action. We see Ulubai's got a medevac full of units that he's forgotten to drop down, so they're not doing him any good. Pretty close battle, but it looks like Ulubai with the superior upgrades and just a little bigger army supply is actually going to clean this up completely. So tbear went for the attack at an awkward spot, really. He pushed the production facilities rather than going for the 4th or 5th base of his opponent, and he just loses that battle by the skin of his teeth. So Ulubai is going to walk away with an army advantage of... Oh, come on, they're still pretty even. How the hell does that keep happening? So tbear, what are you producing back at home that's getting you in the game? Oh, because he's making 5 battle cruisers at a time again. Now, don't let that fool you. They do take a long time to make, and just because it shows that he has that supply does not mean that it's available for him to use right now. So here comes the second battle. We're going to see if tbear has enough to hold this off now. In his advantage, Ulubai's units are actually pretty weak from that previous battle, so tbear's brand new fresh units are going to push this back and buy him some time and maybe keep him in this game. I would not have expected that to happen. He loses his ground army, but who gives a shit when you got 5 battle cruisers, all in pretty good shape compared to the ones that are just barely being held together with duct tape by Ulubai. And he does have the Yamato cannon upgrade. I'm sorry, I missed that. He just shot one out of the sky. A couple of Thors are going to come out and reinforce, and he's dropping all of these manor mules here. I don't know if that's just to be disrespectful or if he's going to have them on auto repair and start fixing up his units. There we go. So he's going to have this army of repairing mules try and keep his few ships together, but tbear pushes in here with just 9 battle cruisers, all in good health now, and I think he might just wipe the floor with Ulubai, despite him having 15,000 minerals in the bank. These mules are not... Oh my goodness, and he does GG out. There was no excuse for him to quit out of that. You could see he was trying to add on a bunch of starports here to increase his production of battle cruisers, but none of them had tech labs on them. None of them were ready to start producing. Back at his base, he was really only made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's got 6 barracks and a lot of them on reactors, so he could have been making 11 Marines at a time. And Marines, I mean, not the strongest unit against battle cruisers, but in numbers they certainly do damage. And we see he was producing out of none of those barracks, despite having all this money. Like, he could have been saving this gas for battle cruisers and producing out of however many starports he had up, and just filling the gap with Marines. When you have this much money, he could just throw them away and it would be no problem. As long as it slows his opponent down, there's no excuse for him to lose this game. That was far and away Ulubai's game to lose, and he chose to lose it, I guess. So tbear, as far as he goes, great comeback. Really smart for him to add on so many starports, and that is what won him the game. Having the ability to produce so many units at once, it doesn't matter if you have all the money in the world if you can't spend it. So tbear really kind of outdid himself. He stuck it in there. He had a couple of ninja bases down here. He wasn't put off by having his 4th base stolen from him. He just bounced back. We see he made a planetary fortress out of this one to try and protect it if there was any run-by should it have been discovered. But Didn't matter. 32-minute game. TvT that didn't end in a tank battle. I'm totally happy with that. And cool to see battlecruisers. So, good game, guys. Thanks for watching. This has been Inglewood, and I'll catch you next time.